Okay, we are live. Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Oh, I'm so excited to be here in conversation with Lani Brunn, one of my besties.
I feel like it's more like I'm in conversation with you.
Well, you've been along my journey forever, for years and years and years now, and been my biggest support. And so I'm really excited to have
One
this
of many.
conversation. Yeah.
Also, Miriam, because I know whenever people go Facebook Live, we freak out. Like, are we really live? Here's my cell phone.
You're really live. Exciting.
Well, as we wait for a few people to show up, why did you want to do a Facebook Live today?
Well, today's Mother's Day, and Mother's Day is really wonderful and full of sweetness and joy for a lot of people, but there's also the other side of it, that for a lot of people, motherhood is fraught with a lot of grief and loss and wishes and nostalgia and there's a lot of pain associated with it, and a lot of just the grief could be like immediate loss of a child, or it could be your own mother has passed away, or it could be you're really yearning for a child and it hasn't happened yet, and you're watching everybody around you who has kids or who's pregnant and who are having an easy time of it, or even if they haven't had an easy time of it, maybe that story is hidden and all you see is the fact that they're pregnant or they have kids. And so there's like this projection of wishful thinking, and often sometimes bitterness and anger that it hasn't happened for you, and why is the world continuing on procreating and you're stuck here. So I kind of, I went through a lot of that, and I wanted to have a discussion about it and just kind of talk about just the realities that Mother's Day isn't always sweetness and flowers and dried pasta pencil holders.
Yeah. And I mean, so you are an author of the graphic novel catalog Baby, which is so exciting. So you've actually documented your journey. I am not a mother of physical babies I've ever birthed or otherwise. So it's interesting. So I kind of come from that other angle of someone where people, I'm in my 40s. I have people ask me all the time, like, are you going to have babies? When are you having babies? Which is funny because I grew up in Saskatchewan, and most of my friends are like have older children or are grandparents from Saskatchewan, or their kids are, teenagers. Where in Vancouver, a lot of my friends are just starting their families, which is so interesting. But yeah, so I kind of come from this other side of not having had children. Okay, can we see? Are there people joining us? Can you
let me see? It looks like, well, there's at least two. There's at least Michael Lowe. Hi, Michael. And Thomas Roberts has just shared the video, so that's great.
Yay, Tom. Well, and if anyone that is joining us, we'll say hi to you as you come on, but we'll also keep going for anyone that's just watching this after the fact, at your leisure throughout Mother's Day or week. Okay, should I just ask you questions, Miriam? Is that a good idea?
That is a good idea. And also, I just wanted to add that if anybody is watching and has questions, feel free to post them in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm assuming you're probably happy to answer questions as well. Because we have both sides of the coin here. Like, we have someone who went through a fertility journey and ended up with her rainbow babies, and we have someone who doesn't have kids yet and may or may not have.
I'm 41. Should I? I don't know. Let's do
there's a lot of questions and a lot of
I did just move and I have a bedroom now, so that's good. Well, and also as as people are asking questions, yeah, I'm happy to. I'll try and ask them as we go along, and yeah, it'll be good.
Perfect.
So, okay, let's start with the fact that sometimes maybe. Oh yeah, I was going to say. I just want to acknowledge that both Miriam and I are speaking to you from the unceded traditional territory of the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations, and we thank them for their stewardship of these lands and of these waters. Yeah, we're honored to be here. So, Miriam, what was Mother's Day like for you before you started the fertility journey? Even like so, like what was Mother's Day for you before this all started?
Well, let's see. Mother's Day. Well, way back when in my 20s, Mother's Day was just, it was a fun day. It was more focused towards my own mother, and it was like, okay, what do I get from my mom to acknowledge my gratitude for all her service and having brought us into the world and everything that she's done for us. And then as I approached my 40s, and I realized that I myself was really ready to become a mom and I wanted kids, Mother's Day really kind of shifted, and it was like, all of a sudden it becomes kind of more meaningful, and it becomes something that kind of like a goal. It's like one of those things that I want this to be part of my life when I have a family. And I want the small tokens, and I want to celebrate with my kids, and I want all the things that, the stereotypical Mother's Day looks like.
Yeah.
So it lives in this fantasy world, and it lives in this, I have a goal. My goal is to create family, and this is one of those markers of that goal.
Nice. Oh, and I just have to say hi to
Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hello, Laura.
We got some greetings from Mexico coming through.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Miriam, I have a question for you. Did you always know that you wanted to be a mother?
No, actually, probably until my early 30s. It was pretty ambivalent. If it happened, I think it's somewhere. I was like, I assumed I was going to be, so I never put much thought to it.
Okay.
And then in my 30s, at some point I was like, yes, I 150% want to be a mother. And then I was organizing the In the House festival, and things just kind of got out of hand, and and I forgot to do the things, and
oh, mother.
And then 11 years later, I was like, oh shit.
Okay, so I remember the day that you talked to me and you were like, all right, I'm talking to all my friends because I've decided I need to be a mother. I'm single, so you guys have 1 year to set me up. I'm also talking to my rabbi.
It's true. I did say that.
Okay, did your rabbi set you up with anyone? Like, we just need to know.
Well, he wasn't my rabbi. He was a rabbi.
Oh, a rabbi.
A rabbi. He actually invited me to a Shabbat dinner, or Shabbat lunch, sorry, where he happened to have probably about 25 people there. Most of them were married or in a partnership or whatever, but there were a few single guys, and he strategically sat me beside a guy. And yeah, we actually, we had pretty decent conversation. We went on a date or two, and it just never really went anywhere.
Okay, so would you recommend a rabbi or other religious person to set people up on dates? Like, was this a good experience for you?
I mean, it was not a negative one. Okay, I think I just kind of hit that point where I was like, I'm not finding somebody on my own, and I was like, I need help finding somebody. This is ridiculous. So, like, what are my resources? And as I Like, what are my resources? Who can I reach out to? And let's do this.
I remember I was useless during that time.
No, you did try. You invited me to a couple of little parties and stuff where you're like, there's this guy who's going to be there. Maybe you'll hit it off. You did.
We won't name his name. Okay, so it didn't work. All your friends and family and Rabbi, like, setting you up on dates, at least at that time, like, you were like, let's get this started. Let's get a relationship going. Let's move it along quickly to the place where both of us may want to have kids, and let's have some babies. But that didn't happen for you.
No, it really didn't. And then one day, like I met a guy at a New Year's party, and we started dating. And, it was kind of at that point where I was like, you're a nice guy. You like me. Let's do this. And then in the back of my head, I was like, is he too young for me? And I started having like all this internal stress, which I kept to myself because I was like, I want to see where this relationship goes in case it actually goes somewhere and I can have this, like the baby thing was always in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And in case, like 5 months later, we started the conversation, and it was a really awkward, like, I know this is really early in the conversation or in the relationship, but like, baby's possibility, what? And that kind of, the conversation got started, but it didn't really lead to any conclusions. And then stuff happened in his life and everything was put on hold. And I was burning out from the festival big time. And then we broke up in August because he wasn't ready for kids and I wasn't ready to wait 5 years. So that's kind of where I made the decision that if I didn't meet anybody by my birthday, which was like 6 months later, I was going to do it on my own. And I kind of took some of the logistical steps for that fertility journey, just in case there was a giant waiting list. But essentially I was still looking, it was.
And so when you decided to become a mom by choice as a single mother, so you went, what was the first steps? Like, you went to a fertility clinic? How did that go?
Yeah, I went to a fertility clinic. I went to Olive Fertility in Vancouver, met with the doctor. She kind of gave me my options. And, after all the tests came in and everything looked seemingly healthy, my egg reserve was great. All the things were what they were supposed to be. She's like, okay, well, IVF is probably not an option for you right now because it's just too heavy-handed. We're going to try IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. Basically, they just turkey-based sperm into you and hope that your egg drops and then the sperm meets and bloop, bloop, magic.
Yeah. Which brings me to a question.
Yes.
So just as a woman, you didn't have any sperm. Where did you get the sperm from?
So I spent a long time debating, do I go with a known donor? Do I go for, go check out the sperm banks? And I had a few conversations with humans that I knew that I thought might be really amazing candidates. I think I talked to 3 or 4 guys. Anyways, so I ended up going. Yeah.
How does that go? Like, you're like, hey, bud, how's your sperm count? I'm just wondering if you've got some extras. Like, how do you start that conversation with someone? I got a legal document. You want to sign it?
It depended on who I was talking to. So one of them was kind of like an accidental conversation. And one of them, or 3 of them, I purposely picked up the phone with my heart racing like this. I was like, okay, so here's the situation. I am 40 and 41. And I don't have a partner and I want kids. And I was thinking that you are a really wonderful human being and I really appreciate you and how you are in the world. And, looks did not hurt at all. And I was wondering, like, I just flat out, I was like, I'm wondering if you might be interested in being a sperm donor. And I mean, across the board, people are generally flattered. I never got any like horrible, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're asking me. This is horrible. Whoa, you know, they were, yeah, I think it always comes as a big surprise. But yeah, and then the accidental one was really quite funny because I was at the clinic getting some blood tests to figure out if my hormones were doing what they were supposed to do. And I bumped into a friend and she was newly pregnant and I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to try as well. And I'm looking for a sperm donor because blah, 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 blah. And, you know, out of the corner of my eye, I see this guy walking past. I'm like, oh, I kind of know him. How do I know him? And I was like racking my brain as I was talking to my friend. And then he sits down beside her and I was like, right, partner, her. And anyways, he overheard the conversation and he was like, I'll be a sperm donor. Just like flat out. And I was like, what? What's going on here? And I looked at him like, you know, this is you and her conversation, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah. And she's like, oh, yeah, no problem. Mm. And anyways, the conversation got cut short because I had to go in for my tests. And when I came out, she came up to me and she had waited for me. And she's like, so do you want to continue this conversation over lunch? Yeah. So that was, yeah, that was pretty special.
And we'll get there because you did try to use their spermies. Now, before we kind of talk about some of the more hard questions, I just want to warn people there's going to be some more tough stories that we're going to hear from Miriam too. But I also want to know who's with us. If anyone's watching us, or if we're by ourselves, if you're watching us, just comment. Be like, hey, how are you? We'd love to hear from you. Give us a little hey, hello. Tell us where you're watching us from. That would be nice.
Is Trina still there? Trina pressed like on the video, so I'm hoping she's watching. Trina is one of the principals at Page 2 who published my book. So if she's still there, that's really exciting. I'm glad she's part of this conversation.
That is wonderful. Oh, and if you're watching after the fact, you can still comment, even though we're not there live. You can just be like, I was here, yo. But anyway, so Miriam, when you started this journey, like how many times did you get pregnant?
All in all, 5 in 4.5 years.
You got pregnant 5 times in 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And how long did you have those babies with you? Because that's
so the first time was the first IUI, and I got pregnant right away. And you know, it kind of fed into that fantasy of, oh, everything's going to be easy and great, it's going to be amazing. And I named her Dahlia. I didn't know 100% if she was going to be a girl, but it just kept happening throughout all my pregnancies that either their names showed up, or like with Dahlia, her name didn't show up. I just knew that I wanted to name her that because it was my grandparents' favorite flower. And so it was kind of like a tribute to them. And also a boy's name never, ever, ever showed up. So I think it was a girl. Anyways, Dahlia. Oh, hi, Stephen. Chris, if you're there as well, I don't know. And she stayed with me for just under 8 weeks. In fact, I miscarried the day before my 8-week ultrasound. So yeah, that was no fun.
Well, and one thing I found just so interesting was that I feel like you almost had a bit of a spiritual relationship with your babies that were in your belly that I just haven't, maybe, I don't know if other people have that or not, but I haven't heard that before, like where you just seem to sense their presence even before the doctors did, since they were gone, even if you lost a baby before the doctors did, and even where they're going, which was crazy. Also, I just want to acknowledge that we have Stephen with us. Love Stephen, and they had their own fertility journey. And I just want to say hello and happy Mother's Day to you, Stephen.
Yeah. Okay. So that was Dahlia, and then there was a bunch of tries with nothing. Nothing worked. And then I had Azaria, and he was with me for 17 or 18 weeks. Yeah, so that was a really, really hard journey in itself. And it really puts into question, like, what does it mean to be a mother? And what do you want your child to live through? They're born. The reason I say that is because I did genetic testing on him because, or in utero, like you just go for a blood test.
Yeah.
Because of my age, there was a higher chance that there might be a genetic abnormality, and it turned out that indeed he had a trisomy. So then I had to, I really, really wrestled with myself. In terms of like the power and agency that I have over his life, and both in utero, in death, and if he were to be born, and like where is that decision? What right do I have to decide his life or death, and the quality of that, and that brought Mother's Day into whole, because I believe I went through a Mother's Day. I didn't find out about the trisomy until after Mother's Day. So as you can imagine, like that Mother's Day, I was like, yes, this is amazing. And like at the same time, I was like, I'm so happy to be finally pregnant again, but also this would have been around the time that I would have given birth to Dahlia. So there was a lot of mixed emotions there as well. It's very complex, yeah.
So you're hitting your first Mother's Day in this journey, and it's the day you would have given birth to Dahlia, and you're pregnant with another baby, but you don't know what's to come yet.
Exactly.
With your second baby.
Yeah, and so like now on this Mother's Day, as I look back on it retrospectively, it's like it makes me feel like I was living the knowledge of the decision I had to make, even though I had no knowledge of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the interesting thing for me, Miriam, so I come from a Christian background, and a lot of people in my world, it is even the thought of abortion is cut and dried. It's like there's no questions, there's just no abortion. And my friends and family members who are Christian who have chosen to have an abortion, I remember often they had to do it in secret. And they had amazing support from the professional in the health system, but they never felt they could talk about it openly, and it was something you didn't do. And then I had friends that were not Christians, who were part of a different world, that were very pro-abortion. And one of the things that was just this new experience for me and was a real honor was being your friend during this journey. And you know me, I'm going to cry a little bit. This happens.
I'm crying right now, just so you all know. It looks like I'm smiling, but I'm actually like,
yeah. And I've never been honored to be part of a journey where you really thought through and felt through what needed to happen for you for this baby. And there was no right or wrong with you. You walked into it with an open heart and open hands. I remember you talking to parents with adult children with disabilities and with Down syndrome. I remember you talking to people with babies. I remember you I couldn't believe your courage that as you explored this. And then I just remember one day we were talking and you were just like, the answer has come to me.
Yeah, it feels like I didn't make a decision per se, but you're right. It just came. It just, yeah, it was, yeah, there is no right or wrong answer, and everybody's journey is different, and everybody's needs and everybody's heart and well, it's not even a question of, I mean, yes, their heart comes into it, of course, but the right to make that decision for yourself and for your baby is unequivocally yours as the mother, and it makes you no less of a mother. It makes you brave, and it makes you, I don't know, it just, there's so much depth in having to make such a decision.
Whichever direction it goes, it takes
whichever direction it goes, exactly.
And so what did you decide?
I decided to terminate. There were so many factors that came into it above and beyond the potential of what their level of ability in life would be. It really came down to, but yeah, there was just so many factors, like me being a single mom, me being like still feeling the burnout of something that I had put absolutely 1,000% of myself into, the festival, and the fear that if I did that again, that I would just 100% lose myself completely. And it's not that I wouldn't love this child, and it's not that I wouldn't care for him in the best possible way, with all the care and all the tenderness and all the protection that is afforded to any, that should be afforded to any child. It's, because I would have, if I hadn't had the tests, I would have given birth to him, and I would have extended all of that, and I would have loved him unequivocally and without judgment. And but there's so much emotion, and so much that, like, I wanted to be able to at least start from somewhere where there was a chance that it would be as easy as possible for all involved. And it's one of the hardest discussions. For me, it's like talking about it is so hard for me. It's a huge challenge. And I don't regret the decision. I don't feel guilty for the decision, but I have this intense fear of being judged for the decision. And I still feel his presence in my life, and every year I do honor him, and I honor the other babies. And I think that because of Azaria, it has given me that space to be able to create ceremony for all the babies that I have lost, because for me, like, my attachment to him has really brought me the ability to have a ceremony. And I want to thank Rena, my friend Rena. I don't know if she's watching or if she will watch, but she was the one who inspired me to create a ceremony for him. And yeah, anyways, there you go.
I know there's, I had one friend who had gone through an abortion, and I remember her talking about looking back on it, and how even now, as she was past that moment, she felt like she could not give judgment on who she was in that moment, that she had to trust that who she was at that time did the best that she could with the knowledge, the information, and the emotions that she had in that place. And she had to honor the decision that her past self had made, without judgment, even as herself. And I just thought that was beautiful. Miriam, why do you decide to talk about this? A lot of people don't talk about it. And you say yourself, it's so, like, there's the risk of judgment. What makes you decide to be so open?
Because I wish I had had the resources and the connections with people who had gone through the same thing. back when I was going through it. And I just think it's so important to break that stigma, to break that loneliness, and if people are going to judge me for that decision, or judge any other mother or person who gives birth or who terminates a pregnancy because of some genetic issues or whatever the reason might be, that the people on whom that judgment is foisted, that they know that there are other people out there who do not judge them and who understand. And even though our stories are different, they might be similar, but intrinsically they're different, that we get it, and the pain is real, and the struggle is real, and the questions are real, and the loneliness is real, and when you find out that people have gone through similar things, that relief is real. And the gratitude, like when people can empathize without giving advice and without giving judgment, and the advice piece is like, I should just say it's without unasked for.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think it's the gratitude is huge, and it's important to share stories, and it's important to normalize the fact that idealized pregnancy and birth and motherhood is not the norm across the board.
And fatherhood.
And fatherhood, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who has the care of children. Yeah.
And behood.
Yeah.
We need a word for our transgender friends and family. I'd love to hear what that is, if anyone has a preferred term. Yeah. Parenthood. Wait, there's a word. Parenthood.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear about more of your story. So if people send to yourself, we're going to move on to the next pregnancy. Yes. Pregnancy number 3. Tell me.
Pregnancy number 3. So by this time, I've moved on to IVF, because after Zaria, I couldn't handle another pregnancy, because when you're going through IUI, you don't find out if there's genetic anomaly until you are pregnant, until you are 12 weeks pregnant, right? So you're like well on your way. Sometimes a little bit earlier, but
what is IVF? Tell us what this is.
IVF?
Yes.
So IVF is when you you grow your eggs inside of you. They give you lots and lots of drugs, and you feel like your ovaries are doing this inside of you. And, ovaries are the size of a grape normally. And then they often become the size of a tennis ball. And they're full of follicles, and the follicles contain eggs.
Okay.
And after a few weeks, they stick a needle inside your vajayjay, and enter your ovaries and suck out the follicle juice, which hopefully contains egg.
So technical,
right? You did ask.
Was I there for that, Miriam?
You were there for at least 2 of the egg retrievals, yes.
Yeah. And
I believe Ella was there for the 3rd one, or no, for the 1st or 2nd one. I don't remember. Anyways, you were there for the last one.
Yeah. Side note, when Miriam started this journey, she would just go to appointments by herself. And then she was like, "Oh, Lani, will you come and just photograph things?" And we were friends at that point. We were intimate friends, I would say, but we were friends. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come along and take photographs." It turns out, I took photos, and yes, you end up using all of those for a book, which was great. But we realized very quickly, it was just good because you had someone there. I don't know if you would have just been a strong woman, I think, otherwise going by yourself. But it was just, I feel like through that, we went from friends to intimate friends.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. I'm just going to say. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is IVF. So they take out the eggies.
They take out the eggs, they stick it in a petri dish, they take some sperm, and and the sperm fertilizes the egg, and then you just wait. You wait up to 5 or 6 days and see how many embryos got created, because there's a lot of die-off. Like, for example, one of the egg retrievals, I think I had like 18 eggs, and they fertilized all of them. Some of them just did not fertilize at all, so they throw those away. Then some of them died within a day or two, throw those away. And you wait until day, some of them did not die, but did not develop enough.
Okay.
You throw those away. And then in the end, I'm just going to, I think I was left with, well, for the final IVF, which is the one where I got pregnant, I had one embryo left.
What?
I believe. Pretty sure that's how, yeah. One embryo. No, sorry. I had
3.
I had 3 embryos. I don't remember. Anyways, I had a few embryos. And then because I got them genetically tested,
okay,
the ones that I got, you're thinking of the donor eggs.
Okay. So many eggs.
Yeah. So out of however many, maybe I had 7 embryos, but I got them tested, and only one of them came back without any genetic anomalies.
Okay.
So there's a lot of die-off, right? And sometimes you don't get any eggs, and sometimes you get multiple eggs or embryos, sorry, that are healthy, and there you go. And sometimes you don't have to get them tested either, right? Like I got them tested because of my history.
Yeah.
So that one healthy embryo that I had an embryo transfer, and it took, which was super exciting, and it was such a relief. And then this is pregnancy number 3. And then that one miscarried as well.
How long was this baby with you? How long miscarried?
Yeah, not that long. I'm trying to remember if that was the one that was the chemical pregnancy or if that was the one that was the missed miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah, which are very different. So a chemical pregnancy is where the embryo tries to attach and just doesn't.
Yeah. And
so it just gets eliminated. Usually you get your period, or you start bleeding, and then a missed miscarriage is the fetus grows and dies, and your body does not recognize that the baby has died. And so your hormones levels stay up, everything looks normal, and you go for an ultrasound, and there's no more heartbeat, or the baby hasn't grown appropriately, and there's no heartbeat. So I experienced both of those. And I don't remember which, if pregnancy number 3 was the chemical, or if it was number 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, I'll have to reread my book to find out.
This is documented. I mean,
this is documented in this book called.
Oh yeah, and throw up the link. Put the link up.
Oh yes,
we figured out how to do this.
There we go. There's the link to it. Ta-da! Yeah. There it is. If you want to find out which one was the chemical pregnancy or miscarriage, and which one, or chemical pregnancy, and which one was the miscarriage. I'm laughing about this, but humor has been such a hugely important part. And Lani's been amazing at bringing out that humor and bringing out that laugh. No, I mean, it's important, because when you're living through grief, and you're living through all these, like, just to get back to Mother's Day, you're living through holidays that recognize mothers, that recognize that people have children, or that they're pregnant, and that they've had success and all that stuff. When you're living through all of that, and you live in grief and you live in loss, you can't live in that all the time. For me, I can't anyways. And I need those little respites. And at first you're like, why am I laughing? Why is this joke? Why am I finding this joke funny? Why am I letting go of that grief for even like 30 seconds. And it's so important to not feel guilty that you're having a moment of respite from the grief.
Yeah.
And to be able to recognize that people can make you laugh, or that a situation can make you laugh, or that even in a situation that is otherwise devastating, that there are little snippets in of it that are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that when you look back on it, you're like, you have to see the humor in it. So yeah, that's.
So one of the things that I found, you know, not to mock you a little bit, but some of my favorite moments was when we were at the fertility clinic and you were high on drugs.
Oh yes.
like oh my God, like Miriam would say the funniest things. And you know what? There was hard moments, but there was also funny moments, and I have to do it. I know I talk about this every time we talk about your journey, but remember the home job? Okay, so remember the guy from the fertility clinic that him and his partner were like, yeah, we'll donate these spermies. That was the couple, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Miriam scheduled. Okay, it's okay if I tell some of the story.
By all means.
Yes. Okay. So this couple's coming over. It's the only reason Miriam even did a home job was because it was New Year's Day, right? And it's like literally the one day of the year that Olive Clinic is closed. They're only closed one day a year. They only get one vacation, this group. They're so hardworking. But that's the day she was ovulating, so she needed to do it. So she's like, well, let's do the home job. I've got this couple. First thing, she's like, I need the turkey baster. And there was only one pharmacy open with the turkey baster available.
Wait, let me interject here. So I had asked a friend of mine, hi Marnie, if you ever watch this, how did you do your DIY? And she specifically told me she had used a 5 ml syringe. So I got it in my silly little noggin that it had to be 5 ml. It couldn't be 10, it can be 3, it can be 1. It had to be a 5 ml syringe. Yeah. And I called all the pharmacies in town. Do you have a 5 ml syringe? And they either didn't have it in stock, or they didn't give them away, or they only had 10 ml syringes. Anyways, we finally found one on Davie Street. And
so we go in, we get her 5 ml. Hello. Okay, if anyone else wants to say hi, please do. We love hello. So we get and partially, I'm telling this story because I want to give Miriam a little break before we go into more hard stuff. But we go to her house. The couple's coming over in like a half an hour. We've set up the garage as a special spot for them to extract the spermies for her. But then Miriam and I are sitting in the kitchen, we're like, where do they put the sperms? I don't know. So like I'm rifling through her cupboards. I think I found like a cup that said, thank you. All over it were like a props. And then you're like, do I need to like sterilize this? So you're like, sterilizing the cup? I don't know. Should have we? I don't know, but we were taking no chances. So they come in, we went and we put the cup out in the room, in the garage. The couple goes in, we wait for the text that the deed is done. And I remember we're like passing them in the garden on our way to the garage. Did you high-five them?
We really high-fived.
Ah, that's so gross. There's no sink in that. There's no sink in the garage. They didn't wash their hands. But anyway, so we go into the garage, and Miriam's like filling the syringe with the spermies from the sterilized thank you cup, and then I believe, hopefully this isn't too graphic for anyone. She's like putting it in, and she puts it in, and then she's like, "Okay, what do I do now?" And I start looking at you, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You didn't Google this?" And you're like, "No." And so then you started doing naked handstands. And you're like maybe if I'm upside down, it'll stay in. And then I'm like Googling things. And then the main thing I found when I Googled is like, if you wanted to take, the best chance that you have is if you orgasm. And my friend, that was where I was out. My friendship only goes so skilled woman. I left you to it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Apparently not skilled enough though, because I did not get pregnant from this DIY.
We leave it to the professionals. I know, well, like most people don't leave it to the professionals, but I guess we should have. Okay.
Oh my God. Oh, I think there's like 3 people who left this conversation. Do you think it's because of this story?
And you guys thought that the sadness would be too much information.
I hope they come back.
Oh, come back. The graphic story is over. That's why it had to be a graphic novel, really, because this was a colorful story.
Sure is.
Did I miss anything with that one? Or anything?
No, you got it all. You did. You really did.
Oh my God. Okay, so that was fun. Okay.
Deep breath. Cry laughing. I always cry when I laugh.
We cried out of sadness. We cried out of laughter. Okay. I think this is a nice transition to talk about your rainbow babies.
Yes.
Like, I remember at this time, this was such a mixed bag of a journey for you, because what was it like when you saw other people who were moms or who were pregnant, and like, how could you even, like, because I remember you were still holding on to hope. I think most people were like, why are you still doing this? Because it was like years into this journey. Yeah. And I think most people were like, why don't you just like adopt? What are you still doing? Maybe you shouldn't have babies. Like, you know, and then you're trying to keep up hope, but you're still grieving. Like, just talk to us about that time.
I actually didn't have any hope, but I had a goal.
Okay.
So what I ended up doing, so 2 things were pretty key at that time, because I was super deflated, and I was like, very insecure about, and just devastated about the fact that my body wasn't working, and that I wasn't able to both conceive or hold a pregnancy. And like, what was wrong with me? Am I still really like, where was my womanhood? Where was my motherhood? Where was like all the things? And so I actually I asked my friends to hold the hope for me, and my friends and my family to hold the hope for me, because the second piece to that is my counselor. Very important. If you are going through this, don't be afraid to go see a counselor or a therapist, because it's so hard on your everything. Anyways, so the biggest tip that she gave me was when I told her, I just don't have hope. I don't know if I can go on. I don't have anything left in me. She's like, why don't you live a week as if you have 100% made the decision that you are no longer going to have babies biologically. Like, you're not going to try to be pregnant. You're not, just live that as your 100% choice. See how you feel. And then live a second week as if you've 100% made the decision to go on, and you're going to try to get pregnant again and try to see if it works. So I think I don't think I lasted a day on I'm going to stop here. And it was a really visceral, deep reaction. Like, I'm like, no, I still want kids. I can't imagine my life later on, like, without kids. Like, it's not an option. And so because I didn't have that hope, which is, it's a very loose, like, hope is, you can't hold hope physically, right? It's not a physical thing. But I asked other people to hold it for me, to give me, and then when I had the space for it, then I could take it back, or like share their hope with them. You know what I mean? And I'm very, very lucky. Like, I have an amazing community of friends, and I have an amazing family, and they didn't give up on me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. So thank you out there all my friends, all my family, whether I saw you in person or whether you just sent me love notes and encouragement over Facebook when I started sharing my story. It was a lifesaver. And so I just went along the business of the logistics of it. Like, what did that look like? I went through 3 rounds of IVF. I was done. And I couldn't go. My body was done. So I had a really hard time with it, but I started considering using egg donors as well as sperm donor. And that comes along with a lot of things, right? It's like you're not using your own biology. So what does that mean? Are you going to be connected to the kids that you birth? Are you, there's going to be all this stuff that you need to explain to the kids and make them feel that they are loved, that they are really my kids, even though biologically they belong to some, like their biology comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But epigenetics is amazing, and that really helped me reconcile myself to it. And that's kind of where epigenetics just kind of talks about how so say you have a baby, you're gestating a baby, and they have the DNA that they have, which doesn't look like yours at all, because the eggs and the sperm come from 2 other people. However, there's parts of the DNA strand that wake up or stay asleep according to the environment that they're in. But I hope I'm saying this right. So if there's any scientists out there who are like, no, you got it all wrong, you can burst my bubble and be like, no, Miriam, this is all wrong. But I think it's right. And so you could, things could express themselves in the DNA makeup of your kids that feel like they look like you, or that they behave like you, or there's certain thing, and it's not because the DNA is the same. It's just because different little thingies. This is my DNA strand. We got it. Yeah. Yeah. So that was really interesting and really reconciled me to it.
And I think that for a lot of parents, right? Like, because parenthood happens in so many different ways. Like, me, Miriam, like I get emotional when I think about adoption, and I often wonder if that'll be a part of my story, and what the attachment would be like there, or and there's just this interesting journey of parenthood that you went through of, what if my DNA wasn't at the beginning? And I what was it like when you had your babies? Was there the attachment there? Tell us about that.
I was attached to my babies even before they were an embryo.
Really?
Yeah, it was so amazing. And to bring it back to the Mother's Day thing, the embryo, so yeah, okay, so we'll start from, they weren't even in my body. They weren't even an embryo. They were in the lab. There were the eggs, there were the sperm, and I was at home. And every night I felt like these spirits, multiple spirits, would come and just give me snuggles. And it's weird because I'm not a very woo-woo person, and yet I felt these spirits, and I'm like, why? They're coming and they're giving me a little snuggle, and what's this, and why is there more than one, and this is it's so odd. And then when I found out that they were going to transfer 2 embryos this time because of my history, and the doctor was like, well, you'll have a better chance of at least one of them sticking and staying. I was like, okay, well, awesome. Okay. Scary, because single mom of twins. What do I do with this information? But also, like, better 2 than none. Like, I'm okay. Let's do this. And so the day after the transfer, I felt them twinkle, and I knew that they took, and I knew both of them took. And, it didn't get confirmed until blood test that I was pregnant, and it wasn't confirmed until I had an ultrasound that both of them stuck. Right. So I didn't find out until 8 weeks that I had twins.
You felt the twinkle.
I felt the twinkle. It's so bizarre.
And they are twinkly children.
And they're what?
They're twinkly children.
They are twinkly. Oh my God, that's so good. I love that pun. And so I think I was like a month pregnant when motherhood hit, or Mother's Day hit again.
Oh my gosh, what was that like?
Again, it was a big mixed bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm so excited that something's working, and like I'm still taking a whole bunch of drugs to try and keep them in. It's like steroids, it's blood thinners, it's progesterone, it's like intralipid IVs, like it's crazy. And so I still didn't know if they were going to stay, right? Mm-hmm. And I had gotten to the point where I'm like, there's no such thing as the 12-week woohoo, everything is safe moment. There's just really not. So I was living every day as if, like, oh yes, they are still there. Oh yes, they're still there. Yes, are they going to be there tomorrow? Yes, they're still there.
What was your mantra at that time? Because this was your pregnancy number 5, right?
Yeah.
It was pregnancy number 5 in your fertility journey. You're like, what, 4 years in? 5 years in?
4.5, yeah.
It was 4.5 years into your journey. And I remember, wasn't your mantra stick, stay, grow?
Yes. Oh my God. I'd totally forgotten that. Thank you for reminding me. Stick, stay,
Whenever grow. I would see you, it'd be stick, stay, grow. And I remember like the look in your eye, like you said, like there at that point, there isn't hope, but there was a goal, and you would just be like, stick, stay. And we would like speak it to your belly. Everyone that met you would speak it to your belly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, by then the hope was growing again, right? Because there was something just in me that I was like, I just know they're going to stick around. And even through the traumatic pregnancy and, like Isaac's water broke at 18 weeks and I was on bed rest for 4 months and like all the things. And it was just like insane. And they were born as preemies. And so, I didn't get to hold my boy until, several days in. I actually thought there was a kitten in the room when they took out the intubation. I heard a I don't know if you could hear that, but I honestly thought that there was a kitten in the NICU. And I'm like, wait a minute, since when are we allowed to bring in pets? And then I realized it was my boy.
And so and for those people that might not know, you had a baby girl and a baby boy, Abigail and Isaac.
Yeah, I did.
It was by cesarean.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, cesarean.
So, I got to be there again in these intimate moments of Miriam's life. It was pretty amazing taking photos. I think that those are some of the photos I feel so proud of those photos. And like, I remember when Isaac,
there's me there.
When Isaac came out, he just like, is that him?
Graphic warning, content warning.
This heavy on graphic novel. But when Abigail came out second, yes, look at her. She was like, roar! It was like this lioness coming out of your belly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we tried to do black and white just to keep it a little, easier to see. And then I remember your sister went with you because they needed to do surgery on you. They needed to fix you up right after the birth. And I've never seen anything like it. There was like nurses and doctors ready for both babies and ones for you. I got to go with your babies. And I remember being like, all right, babies, like, because I'm in this room with them, there's like a ton of doctors and nurses and people all around them doing all kinds of things. It's the middle of the night. And I remember just being like, I am a conduit of all of the love and everything from this entire community and family. Like, and I couldn't touch them, but I was just like, you guys are loved. It was this powerful moment. I try and remind them every time I see them. They don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, remember when you were born?
They totally know. Are you kidding? Yes, they know. Auntie Lani.
Remember when you were born? I was there. Just wanted to remind you.
Yeah.
So, Miriam, for you, when you became, I can't even say when you became a mother, because you were a mother at each point of this journey.
Yeah.
But at this point, when you became a mother to these two babies, tell us about what that was like.
I mean, it's inexplicable. It's there's so much wrapped up in it. There's all the gratitude that they're in my life, and there's all the sadness that to get there were 4 babies who did not make it earthside. There's 1,000% no doubt that the connection is real, that my kids and I are, like this, and I cherish them and I love them, and it's a fierce emotion, and like it's a full body sensation in a way. And then so the first Mother's Day, we spent the first 2 months of their birth in the hospital, and then I got to bring them home, and it was February, March, April, May, so 4 months, basically 4 months after coming home from the hospital was Mother's Day. And it felt surreal. It felt like I have these 2 tiny little munchkins, and we went for dinner or for brunch at Van Dusen Garden, I believe, with my parents. And so all of a sudden there's like this tiered relationship to Mother's Day and to motherhood, where there's like, my good friend Felicia, who's an amazing photographer, Felicia Chang, if you're there, hello. Yeah.
Her photos, like, I liked taking photos, but oh my God, her photos, shout out. Brilliant. The pictures that she took of you and your babies and your mom.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Powerful pictures I've ever seen.
I'm going to put her link in the comments. Felicia Chang. And to make sure I get the correct website. Photography. Give me a moment as I type it in. And
I'll just say we're only going to be on here just for a couple more minutes, because we just wanted to be an hour.
Anyways, so she had done a photo shoot of my mother and I with the babies. And so my Mother's Day gift to my mother was a photo montage of me with the kids, her with the kids, me and my mother and the kids. And so it just kind of brought together all the different tiers of what motherhood is, because grandmothers are mothers. And it's interesting, I'm here as a daughter to my mother, who's the grandmother to my children. And again, it brings more complexity, and it brings more love and joy and gratitude. But it also, it's complicated. Everything is complicated.
Is there still complexities to motherhood and to Mother's Day for you? Like when you...
There is, yeah. I mean, I think there was a lot of PTSD because of my journey. And part of that PTSD, was really around like my body's capacity to do what it was supposed to do. And I still weirdly sometimes get a knee-jerk reaction when I see somebody's pregnancy post, and it's like, it's not anything to do with them. It's not because I'm mad or jealous of them. It's more like, why? Oh, I wish my journey had been that easy. I wish that everything had gone as smoothly as they're claiming theirs is going. And so I get this like little heart twinge, and it's getting better. It's softening, but it's definitely still there. And I don't know that it will ever go away, or it'll just morph into something else. And I don't think with PTSD, I don't think that triggers necessarily go away. I think somewhere along the line, it just stays with you. But it's also a reminder of how much I worked for getting my kids, and how much I owe to science, and how much I for reals though, right? And how much I owe to friendships and to family, and how much I owe to myself, for just moving up along. And that Mother's Day is mixed. It's like a reminder that yes, I'm a mother and I have my wonderful, beautiful children, but also an acknowledgement that so many people out there don't have the dream that they wish they had, and then it wasn't easy for me to get there either.
And I see Stephen commenting that he hopes that these pieces get easier as time goes on.
Yeah.
And I think that's for all of us, because I think that I just want to say that today, Miriam, we celebrate with you. We celebrate with you the journey of courage that you took. We celebrate with you the love that you have for those babies that you lost. And we celebrate with you that, you know what, you have two gorgeous little kiddos. You have Isaac and Abigail. And we are so happy. And even though it's complex, even though for all of us, it's not necessarily simple Mother's Day, you know what, we celebrate and we are joyful with you. And I don't think I've ever seen a more joyful mother than you.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I really need to hear stuff like that, because I live with survivor's guilt as well. Yeah. And it's, you know, you wouldn't think that would be a thing when it comes to motherhood. And when you try so hard to get your kids and you finally have your dream and you finally have your kids, and you're like, you would think that it's like this little insular world, but it's not. And you, especially when you're out and you see the infertility community, and you see all the people struggling around you, and you know, like survivor's guilt is a real thing. And and I need to hear, and I need to continually acknowledge to myself that the courage that it took to get where I am, and that motherhood is to be celebrated. And for folks who haven't gotten their dream yet, it's a thing to acknowledge and to I don't know how.
We don't even know. It's so hard because there's so many stories. And everyone's personal, and like you said, there's these tiers to motherhood, and the tiers, it's a different story in each direction.
Yeah.
Well, Miriam, I feel like that was perfect. Anything before we close it off? Our Facebook Live, by the way, we had to do a lot of work figuring out. Oh my God, we did not feel like technologically awesome people. But any last words? Any final? Oh yeah. If people want to know more, you wrote a book about this, and it's gorgeous. It's so beautiful. Catalog Baby. I love it so much. I'm a character in a couple of places.
He is a character. I'm gonna try and find it before we go.
And one thing I think before we go, for people that may not know you in person. Oh yeah, that was a great moment. That's us in graphic form. Do you have a picture of your babies that you can share with us before we close off?
As they are now? Okay, yes.
How big are these children that we've heard about?
Maybe we can bring them in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Are you guys ready?
Here we go. JC.
Baby.
Hey, apportez-les.
Yeah, the kids are bilingual.
We're having a little moment here. We're gonna.
Maman. Il faut avoir un moment.
Maman.
Venez.
Maman.
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 Papa, maman.
Maman. Yes, we speak French to them. Viens, viens. Viens, viens, viens.
Maman. Oui, bah oui.
Okay,
Hi,
there's
Pascal.
and there's Abigail. Bonjour. C'est Lani.
It's me. Hi.
On va dire bonjour à l'internet. So these are my beautiful rainbow children, and I'm so grateful that they are in my life. And I'm so grateful for everybody who has watched this Facebook Live and who is, feel free to share it. If you want to hear more about my story, go to catalogbabynovel.com or follow me on Instagram, catalog_baby. And I hope for all of you who are on their journey, I hope that you find a resolution and your dreams get fulfilled, whatever that looks like, and that you find the support that you need and that you want, and that you are loved and that you are not alone. So thank you. Thank you all for being part of this, and feel free to share it. And thank you, Lani, for moderating. So that sounds so formal, for being here along this journey and for asking such pertinent and wonderful questions.
Yeah.
You are a beautiful soul.
No, you are.
No, you are.
No, Isaac is. Isaac, you are. Thank you, Miriam. It has been a total honor. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, have a wonderful day. Bye.